Okay, Conan Gaming here. I'm going to read from the book. The next story. Okay. The Gestapo comes to New York. Silk-hearted, dark-haired man learned Carl Frederick Herman, who had bounced around as a waiter in 10 places in Germany during the previous 4 years, was summoned to Hamburg and answered to find himself in the presence of Herr Sonnenberg, the German Gestapo chief in the city. For the years, Herman had provided himself to be a Nazi seller, ruthless and dedicated. It was early 1938. For nearly 2 hours, Sonnenberg held Herman, probing him for a stick in his Nazi armor. He found none. Under the Herman was being sent to the United States as a Gestapo chief in New York City. A few weeks later, Herman arrived in the United States and easily mingled into the American scene. He obtained cover jobs as waiter, first at Longchamp's restaurant in Manhattan and then the Brooklyn Club in the Brooklyn. At that time, the United States was a spy's paradise. Foreign agents roamed the country at will. No single federal agency was charged with counter-surveillance responsibility, and the USA was the only major nation in the world that had no secret service to fit out the nations of hostile powers. Soon after the Gestapo chief settled down in New York, a counter poison as a steward on the German luxury liner Esper brought him his first major secret mission. His bosses in Germany had gotten into the heads that a highly dangerous anti-Nazi counter-espionage ring was spying on German spies in the United States and seeking to disrupt the activists. Herman was told by Hamburg that the mystery behind the anti-Nazi network was two fortunate New York women, Miss Thompson Maywell and Anton Astra Sassman, who Herman plugged into the investigation. Within 2 weeks, he notified Hamburg that he had uncovered 4 other members of the anti-Nazi ring. All were German citizens. A man named Hesfer, another named Anschronecker, Fräulein Drupel, and Fräulein Fitchener Hermann reported that he had engaged in consignment with Mrs. Rachel Kirkwood, several of all German ocean liners in recent times. Miss Muno was reported to be the brains of anti-Nazi network, an extremely wealthy woman. She lived in a spacious suite in the stylish Abbey Plaza Hotel in Manhattan. She was as the mother of Tommy Meanwhile, a big stunning playboy who granted wide for the zany escaped his hotel. She escaped extravagantly to take German ships, made friends easily, and on pretense of a cruise, she gave gifts to those who had been especially nice to her. Chefs, stewards, hairdressers, and waiters. Gossips to folk. She nearly developed the passing acquaintances to visit her at the Sylvia Plaza, wherever their ship docked in New York City. Eventually, the ship employees usually accepted the offer, and Miss Manville accepted them the partial worlds of the steam of German visitors traveling in and out of the Silvery Plaza suit that the ears of Carl Herman. Obviously, her money she had to be the brains, and especially coming Herman Herschel barely knew. No doubt she was Countess secret gifts of delivery sent as a water in Germany, he summoned. The mission confirmed that the Gestapo in Hamburg really was Estra Stressman, a close friend of Mrs. Mainville. She had been forced to flee Germany after Adolf Hitler had seized her because she was said to have had a trace of Jewish blood in her family tree. Vengeance against the Nazis was Chauvin's centered move. The Gestapo had become convinced Astra was a world-renowned figure. She had been a stage and radio star in Germany, became interested in flying, and in May 1932 she piloted the giant airplane Dono DOX from the United States to Berlin, with refueling hubs at Newfoundland and the Azores. The German Harvard people showed her admiration that beautiful AVIX. After the Hitler regime took over, about a year later, her physician father and mother, both Christians, were expelled from the club, and professional associates began their added Jewish blood. So Astra moved to the United States, being along her principal sisters began work, and with which launched her into a highly successful career, buying and selling virtual worldwide. Astra became even more suspected in the eyes of the Gestapo when she learned that she contracted with many influential Washington figures, including leaders in the Franklin D. Roosevelt administration, members of Congress, and high-ranking military officials. Then suddenly the Gestapo interviewed the anti-Nazi conspiracy ring in the United States, collapsing like a house of cards in a tornado. There had never been such a network. Even buffoon Carl Herman finally realized that. Kindly Farrell entered the country in her late 70s. Mrs. Mainville could hardly be a sister, cloak and dagger, made by and destroying Adolf Hitler and his regime. Neither could their 60-year-old Astra Schumann, who spent so much of her time globe hopping on the traveling point business that she could not have had time to hatch dubious and consumed plots. Her numerous controversies with Washington being had all been social in nature. Of the 4 German accomplices uncovered by the policeman Herman, Ursula was a minor official in the agency. Hofer was a steward on the Europra Derbril, a man and was a maid, and a Fetchner was a stewardess on that named ship. Their only involvement with Mrs. Manville was surveilling her on the travels and truckling kindly lady at the Silver Plaza. Comic opera figure, and during the early years the Gestapo agents were infiltrated into the United States. In the months ahead would be bigger, bolder, far more dangerous. That's the end of that story, and I'm kind of glad that that mission failed. And yeah, well, I thank the veterans who fought in World War II so I can read these stories, and I am thankful for that. And you see a veteran, maybe have a tea or coffee with them if they look sad, and you could see stuff, and hopefully I'm hopefully my veterans, and I say thank you, and that's the end of day 6.